mean, I never looked at it as having courage or like, you know, being brave or anything like that. I was always looking at wanting to tell the story and wanting to, after 9/11, wanting to go over to Afghanistan and Pakistan and see sort of like the source of, you know, the biggest story at that point in the world. And I just wanted to be there. I didn't really think, oh, can I do this? Or will I be able to do this? I just wanted to go, right? And I think that like my sort of my realism and everything that I, you know, my sort of thought process caught up 6 months later. And I was, you know, and people always ask what it was like being a woman there, or, you know, whether it was different being a woman there, or whether that sort of impeded me. And there's plenty of women over there who are really great correspondents, and I actually think being a female correspondent was even sort of it was a help, because I got access to all the stories of women over there in a way that male correspondents didn't, right? Because, you know, women aren't going to talk to men because of the culture there about like why they would rather throw acid on themselves than, you know, be in a forced marriage with like a 70-year-old man. And then the men would talk to you in a way that, like, you know, they didn't necessarily talk to you know, other male reporters as well. So I think women have done really well over there, you know, whether it's Pam Constable at the Washington Post or, you know, Carlotta Gall at the New York Times. There's a long history of women doing really great work over there. But it's not like I look at myself as a brave person or a brave reporter or anything like that. No, like I went to Pakistan and Afghanistan for the first time in 2000, you know, between January, well actually in 2002, January of 2002, I went to both Afghanistan and Pakistan for the first time. And to be honest, I had never even been to Europe before I went to Afghanistan or Pakistan. No, I mean, it was like, I was not very well traveled. I barely had a passport. You know, I grew up in a family that didn't have much money, and it's not like I was incredibly sophisticated. I was in Montana and Wyoming growing up, and vacation for us consisted of going backpacking or going to Yellowstone National Park. So, you know, even volunteering to go to these places, I had no idea what I was getting into. I had no idea really what I was doing. It was all sort of like, you know, figuring it out once I was on the ground and surrounding myself with who I felt was really good people, you know, to be able to do the job. Because I grew up in, you know, a state where, you know, there was mountains and beautiful skies and men with beards and guns and pickup trucks who hated the government. You know, that was very much like Afghanistan, right? So, I mean, for me, it was just like, you know, I just was so charmed by the idea of being in this place that was so foreign. And, you know, obviously the Taliban had just been driven out when I first went there. And so I think a lot of people had this understanding that it was really serious and really dire, and people didn't have a sense of humor, and people didn't want their pictures taken because, you know, of the Taliban. And it was just really the opposite. Afghans have like a lovely sense of humor. You know, I always say that, like, you know, if Woody Allen says comedy is tragedy plus time, for Afghans, time is like 5 minutes. You know, they'll be making jokes and you'll be like, it's a little too soon, you know? So I have a dark sense of humor, and obviously that's one of the reasons I wrote the book the way I did. And I, like, one of my early favorite writers was Kurt Vonnegut, and then I fell into Joseph Heller right away and read Catch-22 probably by the time I was 12 years old. You know, so I've always sort of seen, like, I love the whole idea of telling really serious things using a mixture of seriousness and the absurd and comedy. And that really was what I was trying to do in this book, because I wanted to be able to find a way to make people read about Afghanistan and Pakistan, where by the end of it, they would learn, you know, about these countries without even really realizing that they have. No, nothing ever went smoothly. I mean, it's like you're living in countries where you don't have electricity and everything is a struggle. I mean, to take a bath over the winter, it's Little House on the Prairie. You're heating up a tub of water on top of a wood-burning stove, and, you know, sitting in a bathtub shivering and, you know, pouring it over your head. Nothing was ever easy there, but, you know, I think in the beginning you felt nervous and you felt scared more than you did later. You know, I describe in the book how we were all frogs in boiling water. We had no idea that the water was actually boiling. You know, you were more just basically, you know, you got to be normal, and you would see somebody do something that seemed a little bit dangerous, maybe when you first got there, but then you wanted to do it. I was always, and Farouk's here right now, I was always pushing Farouk, you know, can we do that? Can we do that? And he would always try to make it happen as long as he felt like it was safe. What happened is Michiko Kakutani in March of 2011, when the book was about to come out, wrote a review of the book and just raved about it. She named it one of her top 10 of the year. And she said that I had created a Tina Fey character in myself. right? And since Tina Fey's a total egomaniac and Googles herself every day, she basically, you know, got a hold of the book right away. That's a joke she makes, so I'm allowed to make it as well, I feel. And she got a hold of the book, and within 2 weeks of that review coming out and 1 week of the book coming out, she had pushed Paramount personally to option the book on her behalf, and she pushed Lauren to produce it, and she's also a producer on it. I mean, everybody's saying it's the best role that she's ever had in a movie. She shows a serious side, because it's not just all funny. Obviously, it's war, you know, but she also shows her comic, you know, chops that everybody knows. But then also, I mean, I found myself at a certain point watching the movie actually tearing up, which I did not expect. I thought they did a really good job with it. I mean, obviously a lot of it's made up, but because it's Hollywood. But it sticks pretty close to my narrative arc, and the core relationship is between me and my translator, and I thought they did a really nice job with that, very respectful to Afghans, and it also shows the absurdity of how we lived, going back and forth between this extreme party scene and covering things that were really harrowing and difficult.